Cathy Lehman joining me. She is a dietitian in Chicago. So welcome, Cathy. Thank you so much. I know that there are so many myths going around as far as breast cancer and foods that we can eat. And we should be eating the rainbow, of course. But you were going to give us some clarification on like what types of foods and, soy-based and, diet, what can we do for our diet?
Thanks, Michelle, for having me here. So I would just like to add, not only am I a dietitian, I've been a dietitian for well over 20 years, but I, like you, am also a survivor of hormone-driven breast cancer. So yeah, it's the sisterhood none of us want to be in, but we all are in it together, right? And we support each other. So I always like to open up any discussion I have with someone about nutrition just by touching on the fact that I have the professional expertise and experience from my training and credentials and work that I've done. But also the other side of that is I have that experience of walking that breast cancer path. And, at the time of my diagnosis, I was, running my nutrition therapy practice, and I had a private personal training studio because I'm also a personal trainer. And my whole focus was on using nutrition, fitness, healthy lifestyle behaviors to live our best life, essentially, to, optimize our health and well-being. And I worked with many, many women to do that. So when I was diagnosed in October of 2014, you can imagine, like every woman, it's very surprising. But, I found when I was heading into my radiation treatment that even I, as a dietitian, needed a little bit of help with my diet because I needed confirmation that I was on the right track. I mean, I knew enough to know what I didn't know, and I knew enough to know where I needed to be going, and what I was doing was, probably on track, but I wanted someone to validate that for me. And so after I finished my own treatment and spent a few years trying to figure out how I could best serve the breast cancer community, that's where I noticed that there is a lot of confusion, as you mentioned when we started chatting, about nutrition and diet and foods that we should be eating, shouldn't be eating. There's a lot of guilt, a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of panic, a lot of fear of recurrence connected to diet. And women can't always get that support that they need because for a variety of reasons. So that's why I do the work that I do now as a survivor and a dietitian is, I bridge that gap for when women finish treatment or they're almost finished with treatment and they want some help with their diet going forward and they can't find that help. So they try to do it on their own and then they get overwhelmed and confused and frustrated. So I just wanted to give that little backstory that I kind of have a double-edged sword of coming at this from personally and professionally.
You sure do. And, congratulations on your survivorship. You look great.
You too. We do.
We are working it out. I love it.
Thank you.
Cathy, I know me personally, I kind of stay away from like dairy. Can you give us a little bit about what types of dairy products like as far as like milk? I know that I used like 2% or I was using, but now I switched over because they were telling me that dairy was bad. And so now I switched over to oat milk or, like rice milk, almond milk. So can you give us a little bit about how dairy and are those types of milks okay? Or can we go back to 2% or whole milk, or what do you think?
Okay, so you're talking about you replaced cow's milk, dairy milk, and dairy products. So think about this. Dairy is not only milk. It's cheese, it's yogurt, it's cottage cheese, it's cream, it's sour cream, it's ice cream. All of those foods are dairy.
Yes.
And come from a cow. And you've replaced the milk you're drinking with plant-based milks. Correct. Is what I'm understanding you to say. Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to say, Dr. Google, I'm just going to say it is not the best place to get your nutrition information. There are some solid websites out there. However, most of them are conflicting. And, I always remind people that when I share guidance or recommendations on nutrition, it's not my opinion. It's not what I think. It's what the science supports. So as a dietitian, I use evidence-based, science-backed information to make my recommendations to clients or even just like having a chat like this. And so what the research shows us is that they are not showing that, it does not show us that dairy is a direct cause of breast cancer or breast cancer recurrence. There are some distinctions between postmenopausal and menopausal women. However, we have to think about the language that we're using around diet. Does drinking a glass of milk from a cow cause breast cancer? The answer is no.
Oh.
We can't say without question that dairy foods cause breast cancer. The argument that cow's milk is only meant for baby cows has been around forever. And that is a message that comes often from vegetarian and vegan advocate groups saying, well, humans aren't meant to drink cow's milk. You know, that's another conversation. What we're talking about is, do dairy products, all the different dairy products, cause breast cancer? And we don't have that definitive message in the research. In fact, there is some research that suggests, especially yogurt with the probiotics in yogurt, the fermented food of yogurt can be beneficial for potentially, we always say potentially because we don't know for sure, may be connected to reduced risk of recurrence. So my advice to my clients is, if you enjoy dairy foods, buy the best quality that you can. I like to go for organic dairy just because I feel like the quality and the processing, you know, the manufacturing practices are very stringent. All of the manufacturing practices for dairy in the US are stringent. But I also have clients, I remind them to look on the label for something that says no RGBHT. So that's no recombinant growth bovine hormone added. And that's an extra hormone that has been added prior, has in the past to cows to help them produce more milk more quickly. And so you can purchase dairy that does not have that added. So that way, you're getting the benefit of dairy, which is calcium, protein. If you're drinking cow's milk, it's vitamin A and D. You don't have to include dairy in your diet. There's no reason to, if you don't want to do that. If you have an intolerance or an allergy, there are other things to replace those products with, to your point, plant-based beverages, plant-based ice cream, plant-based yogurt. But if you enjoy those, dairy foods, buy the best quality. And then also you have to consider how much, if it's full fat, low fat, non-fat, because not only are we looking at breast health, we're also looking at heart health. And high levels of saturated fat are connected to, heart disease. So we want, after our treatment ends, we want to eat for our whole entire health. So I always say, when you eat for your boobs, you eat for everything in your body, right? You're benefiting everything.
So yes, that's something that we really didn't know and we need to know. So yes, now I can go back to eating my Haagen-Dazs. Okay.
Well, and let's talk about that for a second, because I think that's a great point. Haagen-Dazs is dairy.
Yes.
But dairy isn't always the issue with Haagen-Dazs, right? Haagen-Dazs has added sugar and it's very high fat. So Haagen-Dazs is something that if you enjoy it, eat it. Think about how often and how much, because, there are a lot of, foods that contribute to our overall health that we want to keep to a minimum are saturated fats, added sugar. And so Haagen-Dazs falls under that category. So it's something that you have, once in a while, as I call them, fun foods, because you don't want to go without your Haagen-Dazs, right? Especially if you've been depriving yourself of it. And often people sit down with the carton of Haagen-Dazs rather than putting it in a bowl.
Yes, they have the cartons, and that's what I was eating. But yes, you're right. The sugar is the bad thing here.
Well, let's talk about sugar. I don't want to interrupt you, but let's come back to that. So go ahead.
Okay, so yes, sugar. I also wanted to know a little bit more about fructose, because I hear a lot of fructose to stay away from, fructose. And I believe, in my own personal opinion, that anything in moderation is okay. That's how I've been kind of living as far as eating things. I've been staying away from the dairy, but the other things, I don't eat I eat steak sometime, because we all both know that that's non-digestible. I try to stay away from corn because that's also non-digestible. And so please, if you can give me a little bit more information about that.
Okay, so this is for you and for all your listeners. There are no foods that are non-digestible. Your digestion system is extremely, extremely efficient. However, red meat is harder to digest than fish and poultry, but it's not non-digestible, okay? And there is a guideline for red meat consumption. Red meat is particularly associated with colon cancer. So for breast cancer, just using the guideline in general for red meat, the guideline is 18 ounces or less per week. So that means, go ahead and eat your red meat, but just think about how much you're having, okay? But it is not non-digestible. Corn is also not non-digestible. You may be saying that because it comes out the way that it goes in, but your body is extracting in the digestion process nutrients, vitamins, minerals from corn that are beneficial. And corn actually also has a lot of phytochemicals and beneficial plant compounds that we can, add, certainly benefit from. So just to your point, there's no non-digestible foods. Your digestive system is very, very, very efficient. So sugar and high fructose corn syrup are both added sugars. When you eat an apple, it's sweet, right?
Yes.
It is not sweet from sprinkling sugar on it, which would be added sugar. It's not sweet from drizzling high fructose corn syrup on it. It's naturally sweet. So the sugar, the sweetness in an apple, or any fruit for that matter, is natural sugar. That is, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That natural sugar is packaged with fiber and phytonutrients and antioxidants and plant compounds and vitamins and minerals that are beneficial to our breast and overall health. Added white table sugar, high fructose corn syrup, those are processed added sugars that you cannot, before I say that, you want to keep those to a minimum. You want to reduce the amount of those foods those items in your diet. You can avoid high fructose corn syrup pretty completely if you read labels, if you are particular about the food that you bring into your home, if you are particular about where you eat out when you eat out of your house. You can avoid high fructose corn syrup 100% if you are intentional about doing so. It's impossible to avoid added sugar, but you can reduce your intake. So it's not that the sugar is bad, it's that sugar has no nutritional value, and added sugar is often associated with weight gain, because added sugar is in foods like baked goods and ice cream and pastries and breakfast treats and ketchup and bread and tomato sauce and pasta sauce, all kinds of things. What's that?
All the things that we like.
Well, that's the thing is, I always say, it's up to us as consumers who care about our health to make the decision with our dollars what we are bringing into our homes.
Yes.
There is ketchup that you can buy that does not have high fructose corn syrup and does not have added sugar, but you've got to read the label to find those, and they might cost a little bit more than let's say the generic brand somewhere. And you've got to decide what's the value to you. To me, and this is an opinion, this is not a science thing, this is opinion. I would rather spend money on higher quality food so that I could feel good about what I'm putting in my body and maybe shave it off the budget somewhere else. So that's a choice everyone gets to make. But there's no reason you can't eat ketchup or pasta sauce or bread or what's the other thing? Salad dressing. There's added sugar in a lot of salad dressings. It's just being very intentional about those processed foods, if you're not making them yourself, that you buy by reading the label and staying away from those ingredients. There are options that don't have those ingredients.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'll definitely be some labels. I use when I go to the grocery store, and I try not to put so much value on it. Have you ever heard of an app called Yuka?
No.
Okay, so
Not familiar.
You can pretty much kind of scan everything at the grocery store, and it'll give you like a yellow, red, or green. And the green, of course, means go, but the yellow and the red, and it'll give you like a listing as to why that particular item is not a good item. And it'll also provide you with an optional item, another item that you could get that is in green. So I always kind of look. I mean, if it's something that I really want, then I'll do it. But no, I mean, most of the time, I'll just kind of just see where it lies as far as green, yellow, red, and then I'll just make a decision.
Animal foods have B12 in them.
Animal food.
So plant foods, vegetables and fruits or plant foods don't have B12. Animal foods, B12. That's where you get B12. Okay. Or you could take a supplement, but you need advice on that, right? It's not just a blatant take a supplement. It's depending, you might not even need to be taking a supplement. So let's put that to the side, but that's where people can get B12 from supplementation or from animal foods. Regarding fruits, whatever you like. But for anyone who doesn't have diabetes, all fruit, dried, fresh, canned, frozen, whatever kind you like, include it in your diet, because they all bring to the party different vitamins, minerals, amounts of fiber, phytochemicals, antioxidants, plant compounds that are very powerful in benefiting our breast health.
Yes. Okay. That's wonderful. I love that because I eat a lot of fruits anyways. I just like fruit.
That's how you get a peaceful plate. My program that I run is called the Peaceful Plate. And I always say, if you're looking to build a peaceful plate to help you potentially reduce your risk of recurrence and rebuild your health after treatment, put more plants on your plate. Lots of peas.
Thank you so much, Cathy, for coming on and being able to just shut down some of those rumors. And now you pretty much changed my whole diet around. So thank you for that. I can I can incorporate some things that I had gotten rid of because I do love grilled pork chop, especially in the summer. So now we know that that's a go. And then also you shut down some of those vitamin D type, all we were thinking about was no, stay away from dairy. So yes, thank you so much. We really, truly appreciate you, Cathy. And you said the peaceful diet.
I love that I helped you rethink your diet because there are a lot of myths and there's a lot of confusion out there about what to do. So left to their own devices, women just try to figure it out and do things on their own. And it doesn't have to be that way. There is help, there is guidance, there are recommendations out there. So I'm glad that was helpful. And then finally, yes, my program is called The Peaceful Plate. And your viewers can find me at CathyLehman.com. It's Cathy with a C. Maybe you'll be able to put this down below in the description, but it's CathyLehman.com. If your followers are on Instagram, I'm at the Hormone Breast Cancer Dietitian. They can find me there. That's how you found me. That's how we connected.
It is. Thank you so much, Cathy, for coming on board. Everyone can always, like Cathy said, visit her on Instagram. Also, she does have a email address, Cathy@CathyLehman.com. And I'm sure Cathy would be happy to answer any questions and, clear anything up, any of those myths and rumors that we have going on. Please book with Cathy so that she can, get rid of all those rumors of those diets, bad diets that we go on Google and get. So she'll help us a lot with that. Thank you so much for coming on, Cathy. I truly, truly do appreciate you. You will be getting a gift And so I'll get back with you a little bit later about your gift. You see, I do have my Au revoir clothing t-shirts. They are available and they are in stock, t-shirts as well as tank tops. And so Cathy will be getting an Au revoir t-shirt. Thanks for coming on the show, Cathy. Yes, I appreciate
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for
Yes.
having me. It's great. I love setting the record straight for women who've been through what we've been through. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Michelle.